Okay, I'm ready now. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Did you read that article I sent you? Good, you don't check your email that often. Saturday Satsang. Tomorrow I may be watching football, so that's my screen time. I watch it with the sound off. I find that it's easier to remain present in self when I have the sound off. And it's so smoky here that I don't even want to be outside. Here, I'll show you. I don't know. Like, there's a shoreline about 2 miles away, and I can't even see it today. So I'm not going outside. I used to do that for a living. I don't have to work in this smoke anymore. Yeah, I used to be a firefighter, right? So we used to be working at the source where this came from. And yesterday was crazy windy, so that really got them stoked. And then today it's just settled in. Smoke from fire. There's still like 370. No, I've got lots of plants. I've got a solarium right over there, and I guess that provides some oxygen, I hope. Yeah, there's still 370 fires burning in British Columbia. And it's been like this all season, since May, basically. So some days are not smoky, and this is probably the worst day yet for smoke. So pretty much, I would say about 80% of 70% of British Columbia is covered in trees. It's just fuel everywhere. The whole province is just wood. So yeah, and now we're going through like the worst drought in like 100 years and shit like that, right? So, and there's an El Nino developing, so next year is going to be worse. This is no, I don't really. They were so busy, and I don't really chit chat that much, so they may or may not contact me, or I'll ever see them again. Yeah, I suppose I should. Right now, I've got so many other expenses with all these the water business and the farm and the drone business. I got no money for anything right now. I'm, I'm selling shit. Ugh. Oh yeah. Yeah, I invented a game, a sport, and I got a patent for it, and I was even on Dragon's Den. So I think in the States it's Shark Tank, but in Canada it's Dragon's Den. And back when I went on it, it was the most watched show on Canadian television. So 2 million people saw me do my thing, but it was now that I look back on it, they just used me for eye candy. Like they really did. They're just like, the commercial before it airs, the commercial that plays just before it airs. Well, you got a sexy guy or a sexy girl doing something. Well, that was me. I was the sexy guy. They didn't give a shit about what I had to say. They just wanted me to show my abs and go out there and act like an idiot. But I told them I'm not acting like an idiot. But that was my first experience with like a big time producer. And I see why the connotation for a Hollywood producer is basically evil because she was a two-time like a yeah. Anyway, not so much just getting into it. Like just I wrote a book back then called Conversations with Myself, and I self-published it, and I actually have some copies kicking around. But yeah, that was my when I was just engaged in basically the theory and just taking my first few steps into non-conceptuality. Yeah, it's a book, kind of a bunch of like it's almost a poetry book. It's a bunch of there's a bunch of one-liners in it too, kind of like a blog only on paper. I think in another time, like if I invented that game and did all that stuff in the 50s or 60s, it would have became as big as like I don't know, mini golf maybe. Like it would have been really really big. But in this era of everyone would rather play sports on a screen than actually play sports. But everything's turning out the way it should. If that would have happened and if I would have be it would have been huge and I would have been rich and famous, maybe none of this would have happened, right? Maybe I would have got distracted from my spiritual life and just followed, you know, the money. Now I feel like the money's following me. It needs to catch up a little right now because my crypto's in the shitter. Yeah, it's well, everyone's world is their own in a way. And that's what that article that I sent you and the way that you can create your reality, the only way that works, and when the moon isn't there when you're not looking at it, as is if each conscious agent, as Donald Hoffman would put it, is its own world. I don't know why we can't just look at it that way, that every person, that's a world. Your life is your world, and someone in China, that's their world, and the two may never meet. That's great. Yeah, it's nature. I mean, you can do it walking down the street in a big city too, but it's a lot easier, I believe, in nature to find the stillness. There's no signs around here. There's no radios playing. There's no cars driving by. There's no alarms going off. There's no sirens. It's just so still and quiet most of the time. I hope you can make it here sometime. Yeah, I think that's creepy too. I think that 5G stuff is creepy as shit. So with that 5G stuff, they can have augmented reality, right? So you have special glasses and you can be like literally chasing what you perceive to be a Pokemon because there's a little Pokemon in your glasses, right? So this is one step moving into literally moving into a video game, is it not? Like it's baby steps. Maya works in little increments because if it tried to do it right away, you just go, what? You just reject it, right? But it's like that old story about the frog that gets boiled and doesn't jump out because you just tweak the temperature up a little bit and a little bit at a time and it doesn't recognize it. And that's what's happening with human consciousness is that Maya's just taking us a little further. Oh, look at this. Isn't this video game fun? And then you go to VR and then then you get an implant and the next thing you know, you are inside that freaking thing. And that's not so much science fiction and crazy talk anymore. I saw someone was talking about, of course, I was watching this on the screen, but so it's getting to be that computers can read minds now in that. So the experiment, wow, isn't that something? Um, yeah, so the experiment what was that the computer didn't hear the music. The music was being played in the test subjects' ears, right? And it was Pink Floyd, Another Brick in the Wall, all right? And then just by reading the signals, the brain activity, that the computer replayed it, and it wasn't, of course, like clear, like you're watching Pink Floyd live or anything. It was very almost like not really backward masking, but mumbled, and but you could make out the tune. You could make out. You could very, if you knew the song, you'd say, "Oh, that sounds like Another Brick in the Wall," and that was just from a computer sensing the brain activity, the firing of the neurons in your brain. So where are our thoughts coming? There's a communication going on between the thoughts and the technology, and it's leading us into it. Creepy as fuck. And people under like they just, oh, isn't that an interesting curiosity? No, there it's telling us something about the electrical impulses that create thought. Could it be that the internal activity within our body creates some sort of electrical field that affects our brains, that fires the neurons in our brains? Because if I look outside and I experience senses, right? Exterior senses, and those are transmitted into firing of neurons in the brain, right? So we can experience the outside. But where are the firings of the brains that make thoughts? Where are they coming from? It's not from outside the body. You can't say, that's the source of my thoughts over there. I'm going to go shut that thing off because I don't want to think anymore. You can't do that. So, what is it? Where is the source, the cause of the neurons firing in your brain when you have a thought? This perhaps is one of those hard problems of consciousness as well, is where the hell is the source of thought? It must be generated in the body. And again, solution seeker, when you read that article, just keep this in your mind, right? So I've, of course, contacted that guy and Robert. And again, we'll see. But um, uh, let me just see if I can find it. My phone, that is. A real YouTuber would probably never leave the camera, but I don't. I'm not a real YouTuber. All right, so what was that? Oh, it was Psychology Today. Biocentrism. What does quantum mechanics say about mind powers? And it's written by Robert Lanza. Biocentrism. So maybe that's this is why I just said what I said about thoughts, the source of thoughts being generated somehow by the activity of all the stuff that's going on in your body. Because it's clear that the source of thought is not outside the body. So, what if there's some sort of electrical, because it's electrical, right? Some sort of electromagnetic system that that the body generates from its internal workings that affect the brain. I don't know. Yes, yes. And it's a lot about, we create our realities, but it's deeper than that. It's not just like if I had a powerful enough mind I could manifest a Lamborghini. It's not like that. It's the whole, but it's more powerful than that. It's less immediate, but it's more powerful. So I have this saying that I've coined, and it is, to have all the power, you need to relinquish all of the control. So you can have all of the power, but none of the control. So that equals pure observation. Thanks. I'm pretty proud of that one too. But that is the state of pure observation. So when you're observing your world, that is the divine perspective. So that is how you become you, the ego, becomes completely aligned with the universe, is not by trying to change what the universe is doing, but adapt you, your actions and your thought processes so that you're perfectly in alignment with everything else that's happening. And that's how you have all of the power but none of the control. And because if you had all of the control, that would be no fun, would it? In this game, it would be a game that has no fun to it. Because what fun is it if you can just snap your fingers and make anything happen? That's not fun. That's not entertaining, right? So it's like Heisenberg's uncertainty principle is you can't know everything. So you can only know half and exactly half of everything that's required to know everything or to control. Because my world is unfolding as I see it, but it's doing it in such a way that there's still surprises and miracles happening in my life. But the other great aspect of it is that it's effortless. The only effort you need to put in is spiritual effort, which is sitting in a fucking chair and meditating, no matter how difficult it is. That's that's the effort required. You don't the effort isn't trying to change things and manipulate the universe to get your way. That's the opposite. Oh, my favorite girl. Hi, Paige. Paige, look how smoky it is. I can't even see the South Shore. This isn't going to be very good if it's like this for the Terry Fox run tomorrow. Have people dropping from freaking respiratory problems. Oh, that's shitty. It's an inside day. I'm not doing nothing today or probably tomorrow. Nothing physical. This is the most important thing to do anyway. It really is. Like the more you do this and the more you can get to that stillness, the more the universe just you're in sync with the universe. And it gives you things that you didn't even know that you wanted or that you needed. Well, it's real for me. Like it's real. It's actually made an effect in my life. And I want to share it with people because it's the most amazing freaking thing. And I used to want to just grab people by the shoulders and say, just listen to me. I've got something amazing to show you. But most people would say, get the fuck away from me. I don't want to hear it. So I've stopped all that. And now it's just whoever is interested comes to me. I don't want to advertise this or grab people by the shoulders anymore. And because that's trying to change the world in itself, isn't it? So the way this non-conceptuality thing works is by natural progression and natural growth, which is basically word of mouth. I think that's the best. If everyone that does this, all the non-conceptualists, just hold to the practice, and then if someone notices you sitting there in a coffee shop or something, just staring out the window with a blissful look on your face, then they might ask you, well, what's wrong with you? They might say, what's wrong with you first, or what's going on, and then you can share. It's like, well, I've found my inner happiness, my innate. Yeah. And you could literally say, well, I'm high on life. Well, I'm high on self. I'm neutral on self. That doesn't quite rhyme. Doesn't quite have a zip to it, does it? I'm neutral. But our natural state is Satchitananda, which is perfect contentment and unfiltered, unbounded consciousness. Awareness. I shouldn't say consciousness, because consciousness is bounded awareness. Yeah, consciousness is bounded awareness. We're going to get this all sorted out. This, it's like this guy that I kind of follow, Maloney. What's his first name? He keeps making the distinction between currency and money. It's everyone says that currency is money, and he wants to keep saying, no, it's not money. Only gold and silver are money. And he's right. But everyone just keeps saying money for currency. Like the dollar, the fiat currency system isn't money. And it's the same with consciousness and awareness. I want to be, I want people to get this terminology sorted around so we can actually have a discussion rather than just bouncing around with semantics. So half of these philosophical discussions are semantics. So if we just say consciousness is the content of awareness, it's awareness of something, and awareness is the ground of being, it's the fundamental reality, and it doesn't require, it is absolute, therefore it doesn't require anything relative to it. There. Now let's start talking about the real important shit. Yeah, a shiny tip nose there. But apparently you got to get a fucking PhD before anyone will listen to me. Before any other PhD will listen to me. Maybe Robert Lanza will listen to me. He does say that consciousness is the ground of being. Like he's not a materialist, he's an anti-materialist. So there's hope. Mike Maloney. That's his name, Mike. Can you tell us about some of your salvia insights? You've talked about some of it before, but I'm wondering if there's anything else you'd like to share about what you learned from it. Yeah, I really, because of my reading about quantum mechanics and many, many, many books about that, and it's my understanding that it it tweaks the nervous system in such a way that the wave function is experienced, like it becomes a phenomenal experience. And that means that you're experiencing the universe immediately as it arises and passes. And I believe it arises and passes one with 43 zeros after it times per second. That's how fast it flashes. Like a movie film maybe goes at, I think it's anything over 18 frames per second. Yeah, like the 1080, 60 frames per second, right? So the more frames per second there are, the less you can tell that it's not one fluid continuous movement. It's a bunch of frames with spaces in between them, right? But there's the spaces in between them are so small that our gross nervous system can't pick it up. But I think that salvia tweaks the nervous system in such a way, like I said, is that you can experience the wave function directly. So what that means that basically, as an analogy, that you're experiencing the information wave that hits the back of the screen before it hits the screen. So there's no, you're trying to, the human nervous system is trying to deal with that. And, well, the sun came out and now I'm just glared. And so there's no past with salvia. There's no past. There's no identity. There's no past. And there's a strong sensation of there are less dimensions going on. There's just about everyone reports like the world was folding back in on itself, or you're on the surface of a tube that just keeps unwinding or winding up. um and wave, that's another big one, is that as soon as you exhale, there's some sort of frequency that you're experiencing that you didn't before. And that's the frequency, right? Is that the entire universe flashes on all at once and off. Your world flashes on and off, in and out, in and out. And that produces a frequency. And salvia messes that up so that you're at a different frequency. You're all of a sudden experiencing this flow at a higher rate or a lower rate. I don't know what it does, but it messes with that. And ego goes bye-bye. buckle up buckle up, Dorothy, because Kansas is going bye-bye. Yeah, that's it. um yeah, so it is ego. It's not ego death, it's ego pass out, because you always come back. But your ego's gone. There's no identity, there's no sense of time, but it's real. It's as real as this. When you're there, you, well, when you're really deep into it, you forget this realm completely. And that's fine. It's not terrifying when you're completely experiencing, I'll just say, that realm, and you can't remember this realm. But when the intermediary where you're back and it kind of comes in and comes out, you might be terrified because you think, well, that old reality that I used to know myself as is not the right one. It's not the true reality, because if you think about it, if the wave the wave function and particles are in a superposition, they are the superpositions of self, then one isn't more fundamental than the other. It's just your perspective, right? From this perspective, it seems like particles are more fundamental than the wave function or mind. But when you take salvia, you realize, well, maybe you realize that they're both on equal footing. And then if you just switch over here, then that will be the reality. And then when you remember, you look back and you go, oh, the physical world wasn't real, but this was real. But if you know self, then you can go, well, I'm just flipping back and forth, right? I'm just flipping back and forth between the two realms, the wave function and the particle world. So I have a bunch of dry leaf the way nature intended it. The first time I took it, it was 20x. Back when it was freaking legal, it was legal. And it wasn't supposed to be 20x and up to 80x. That's when these guys freak out and start drooling and like pissing themselves and sweating. And it's not so good, right? But I have like an ounce of this stuff the way nature intended it. But I haven't felt the need to do it for a long, long, long time for obvious reasons. But I may again. Um, but I recommend it unless you've got like psychological problems and it might affect you permanently. But if you're just kind of a normal person, it shouldn't. And I recommend it. Anything, I mean, what have you got to lose? I mean, you're already, you, as in most people, are and about to suffer greatly or already suffering greatly. Lose just the ego. Excuse me, just the world. You only have the world to lose. Salvia isn't mentioned that much. I just don't know. It's always magic mushrooms, this, magic mushrooms, that. And I've got a fucking pound of magic mushrooms. I, I could take it or leave it. It's not my favorite. I don't know. I I guess because I took salvia before I ever took mushrooms, maybe that's why I don't get or haven't gotten much breakthrough material from taking mushrooms. I'm not sure what the question is. What about epilepsy? Oh, yeah. DMT. That's something else that I haven't done that I actually should, because I hear so many people talk about it. But to me, so I've got an opinion on that too, of course, right? So, but it's not dark. It's only dark when you're frontal lobe deep and believing that you're an ego, right? So if you believe that the self is the identity that you think, then when that goes away, it's terrifying. Yeah. But I think what's happening with DMT is that it doesn't quite go as deep, but it takes you to a thought realm, right? So a mathematically based thought realm. So this is what I'm talking about, is that we're getting so close to the thought realm becoming fundamental reality, is that we can take substances that actually just flip us over into these thought mathematical dimensions. So as far as I'm concerned, And from what I've heard is that DMT is probably highly mathematical. Oh, I see. Epilepsy. Yeah, I don't know. You got, if anyone's going to do this, you got to do a shit ton of research beforehand. Salvia is like the most powerful hallucinogenic. Period. It just is because of what I told you. You completely lose sense of self and sense of this world. But I know what it is. I because of my training and my meditation training and my practice is that it it takes a point and a point and a point and a point there in the 3D realm, and it kind of just joins them all together into a 2D realm and then just recirculates it. There's a really strong sense of reiteration with salvia. I mean, a lot of this spiritual stuff is, I mean, that's one of Maya's best plays, right? Is fear. Because even my float tank, which is nothing close to psychedelics, even I've had terrifying experiences in the float tank because it takes away, it's the best technology to take away all physical sensations. So then you're only left with your thoughts in a float tank. And then if you meditate in a float tank and you have no thoughts and then no sensations, well, that's a mild form of salvia, isn't it? It's another ego pass out. Yeah, it only lasts, well, the most intense part of it lasts 10 minutes at the most, with lingering effects for about a half an hour. But the experience itself lasts in your memory forever because it just dramatically shifts your perspective in such a, because it's real, right? It's not like having a dream, or I don't believe any other psychedelic, because like a psychedelic just kind of changes your perception of this world, and salvia takes this world away. Yeah. And there's no time. So there's no way to know how long you were in that realm, really, because sometimes it feels like it's an entire life. You spend an entire life in that trip. Maybe I should start some sort of, but I'd have to get a PhD involved. But like I said, I've got an ounce of salvia, and the size of the size of your pinky. You take that much of it, and you know. So yeah, I mean, I should conduct some experiments here. Yeah, but is death scary? Yeah, death is scary. But if you have a mini death before the big death, then maybe the big death won't be so scary. But if you've watched my video, you can tell it's not. So there's two responses usually. One is complete terror and freaking out, and just you can tell they're not having a good time. And the other one, which is far less, I don't think it happens as often, is what happened to me. You get the giggles. You get you see the cosmic joke for what it is, and rather than so when you see that everything that you believed self and the world to be incorrect, there are two responses. Either it's like, "Ha, wow, was I ever silly? Like that's hilarious that I took all of this to be one way and it's actually not that way." So you could take that to be, you know, hilarious because you get the cosmic joke, or absolutely fucking terrifying because you don't know what the world is anymore, right? You thought the world was one way, and now this thing has shown you that it perhaps is another way as well. So, yeah, if you can't, not to fight it. That's the best thing is, but when you're tripping, it's hard not to fight it, right? It's like, no, what have I done? I want to go back. I shouldn't have got in the van. But there's a difference between these psychonauts that just, I think, just want to have experiences, new novel experiences, and people who actually want to learn from these experiences. If there's no introspection after the experience and you just want to go, wow, that was crazy. I'm going to tell my friends what a crazy fucking thing I did, then it's of no use, right? It's not a party drug. It's not fun. Would you say that meditation is more about delving into some deep feeling or more about panoramic awareness? Oh, it's not about feeling. It's not about, in the way I would describe it, it's not about feeling at all. It's about the latter, panoramic awareness. Yeah. Unbounded, unbounded awareness. Because if you focus on any phenomenon, whether it's a sensation or a thought, that is a limitation. That's a boundary on your awareness. So if you can somehow shift attention onto the awareness itself, or just be aware of the awareness, focus deeply on the space between thoughts. That's the easiest way to do it. See, cult leaders, they work on that feeling thing, right? They want to generate strong feelings because that's how the ego operates, is you exist while you're feeling something. And if a leader can generate strong emotions within you, then that's actually feeding your ego. But it feels so good that it captures a lot of people. So then you're following a false guru. Yeah, solution seeker, I believe, is giving this a good go. this non-conceptuality thing. So if I can talk about my progress, but that's just me. So if you want to, I think that he would be willing to share his experiences. I don't want to put words in his mouth or type words onto his computer, but I believe that he's given this a good go and he's having actual practical results. And it's the same for everyone because it's the same. Humanity is all under one collective consciousness. So if it works for one person, it is going to work for everyone. And people who say that it only works for more advanced people, well, that's bullshit. That's just an excuse. Hmm. Well, this can be this spontaneous enlightenment, like let's say Ramana Maharshi and Eckhart Tolle. These are very few. Like this is not common where you just spontaneously basically become enlightened. For most people, it's a freaking decade long because most people take one step forward and one step back, or two step forwards and one step back. But you need to, if you're going to engage in it, you have to give it your all. It has to be your number one priority. Because if you believe this, if you believe that the purpose of all of life is to attain or realize your enlightenment or nirvana or heaven or moksha, then it is the purpose, right? And everything else that everyone else is doing is not the purpose. It's Maya. So when you look at it, everything that humanity has done is the propagation of the delusion. Because we're all forced to go to school and we're all taught that this is the best thing to learn about whatever they teach in school. And then we're just brainwashed basically for 12 years. And for some people, like 20 years, 20 years of just delving deeply into thought. And now you come across this dude that says, well, maybe that's completely 180 degrees the wrong way for the meaning of life. So, of course, it's going to be really difficult to switch that around. Like when I was a Buddhist, most of the Buddhist Zen priests and Zen practitioners were female, about middle aged female, bi or lesbian, and also through academia, right? They're just about all gone through academia, like PhDs and all this shit, right? But they could not let go of their thoughts. It was all about compassion and the four ways and all that stuff. Like it doesn't, to me, the conventional Buddhism doesn't get to the point. And the point is that you're God, so they never mention God. And this is all an illusion. They don't go that far. Zen is about, yes, maybe transcending thought, but then but they don't really say that either. So to me, Buddhism is just another religion. It's maybe more effective than Christianity, and but how did I end up there? I'm not sure. Oh, two step forward, one step back. Yeah. So they meditate, they go on these meditation retreats and they sit through torturous pain because they have to sit in a certain way and they can't move. And then when they get back home, well, it's just business as usual. Like it's like, well, you can't boil water by turning on the heat for 20 seconds really, really hot and then just turning it down again. And then, oh, there's another retreat or, you know, then I turn up the heat again. And then, well, I just go back to my normal ways when I go back to life. It doesn't work that way. You got to have it on the whole time, really, really hot for quite a while. And then when it really starts vigorously boiling, then you can turn it down and let it simmer. But most people don't get hot enough. Oh, I love analogies. Then they kick me out of their Sangha because I mentioned this. Well, to put it bluntly, my middle name is Frank. Uh, uh, uh. Yeah, it actually is Frank. Imagine that. The way I speak, my middle name is Frank. Hmm. Do you agree with Shunyamurti's description of the three levels of being? Ego is lesser than spirit, spirit is lesser than soul. I don't know what the difference between soul and spirit are. Uh, Hi, Karen. Karen's been with me a long time, haven't you, Karen? She pops in every now and then and says, "Hey, I'm still watching you." uh, every Saturday or Sunday. Yeah. Good night, Jan. Thanks for attending. Um, okay, so ego, spirit, soul. No, no, I don't. To me, I would switch spirit and soul because soul is usually conceived as the thing that moves through reincarnation, right? So the ego dies and the soul continues on in reincarnation, but that's not spirit. So, no, that's surprising that I don't agree with Shunya because I think he's great. Soul animates all spirits. Is that what he says? He says spirit is the thing that see, I've just got that reversed. It's probably just semantics. But uh yeah, it's just semantics, I think. But when you think of it, most people think that the soul is your true identity and that is what moves through the world, right? Why are you laughing, Karen? Why are you laughing? Yeah, but to me, right, spirit is mind, body, spirit. So I can't say because of my triune system. I suppose I could put soul instead of spirit, but it's when people talk about the triune system when they relate to a to a human, it's always mind, body, spirit. It isn't mind, body, soul so much, right? It's usually mind, body, spirit. So no, but yeah, see, I no, I don't because what's the word that he uses for the absolute then? Because there has to be a word. No, I don't I don't like that choice. It's it's yeah, it's not as succinct, is it, as the triune system? It's just not. It's too linear, but there's something that doesn't move through the world. The world moves through it, and to me that's spirit. Mind, body, spirit. I can't use another word for that because it's in the triune system, right? It's in the fundamental model of reality is that spirit is the middle column. Yeah, not with me. And sorry, not with me, not with me. Sorry, if that's what you're laughing at. Following me. There you go. Following, that's a better word. My memory's not so bad that I get you and Paige mixed up. It's not that bad yet. There's some things about Shunya Murti that I really scratch my head about, though. Like, he's the only other guy that really talks about, this being the end. So I feel like a camaraderie with him, camaraderie with him, and camaraderie. But yet, he doesn't really talk about conclusion. Usually, his shtick is that we're going to a new, better place. And I'm like, well, no, that's not enlightenment. That's just more samsara. So is he promising that he's going to lead his followers to heaven, which is a place where everything's cool? That I just don't get. I mean, maybe that's why he's got way more followers, or maybe it's his glorious beard and hair that makes him look like such a legit guru. But but I mean, we say the same shit, only I just go, no, it all concludes. That's what nirvana is. That's the end. There's there's no more experience. But he seems to focus on the next world. I I don't dig that. I don't get it. There's no need for that. I guess there's a need for that if you want to attract less advanced people, right? It's a good hook for neophytes to say, "Oh, don't worry, we'll just get past this, and then there's going to be a heavenly world that we're going to go to." Like, well, that's not so bad, but it's still samsara. Leo Gura, yeah. You know how to press my buttons, don't you? You just mentioned Leo Gura. Is he bald? He probably appeals to the younger generation. He lives in Vegas, like right there. It's like you're you're a false guru, dude. You live in fucking Vegas. You kidding me? Good luck with that one. In the middle of a desert. And he blocked me, right? So these fucking cowards who won't even engage, right? Oh, just block them. Just like the Essentia Foundation. That's Bernardo's gig, is the Essentia Foundation. And I hit them with just a little bit of this, my stuff, and they blocked me immediately. It's like, okay, well, you think I'm a crackpot? Either you think I'm a total fucking crackpot, idiot, or you're actually threatened by this. Either way, it's cowardly. And don't get me wrong, I think Bernardo's great. It's just he's not comprehensive. So what? Everything's mind. Okay. Now what do we do? Like, okay, everything's mind. So what do I do? What's the difference? There's no fucking difference. He doesn't give any instruction. There's there's these guys provide a lot of explanation, but no instruction, right? Because they don't know. They're really good at articulating and explaining stuff, but they have no knowledge on what to do about it. So they just talk about it a lot, and a lot of people like to talk about it and hear people talk about it. Yeah, most people are like that, I guess. But you start believing your own stuff, right? Like you can easily fall into believing that you know everything that's possible to be known. And especially when you get famous and everyone's just like praising you for being so wise, well, then you probably think, well, maybe I do know it all. And there is nothing more to know beyond what I know. And it's so difficult for all these thinkers to just stop thinking. So they just abandon it. They don't even try, I don't think, because the thinking thing seems to be working so well for them. They get a lot of people agreeing with them. So they must be right, right? I wish Satsang was like my artesian well, that I could just capture it in a bottle and sell it on Amazon, and then you guys could like drink it and like, Satchitananda. Okay, well, I got to learn how to do this myself because that was good shit. I hope you can tell that it's good shit. Some people don't want peace though. Most people, they want to continue playing the game, and that's fine. It's just when they start bitching about it is when it really gets me. It's like, oh, everything's fine until I'm suffering, and then, oh, woe is me. It's like, shut up. It's- you, you signed on to this, and that's the agreement that every up has a down. It's very simple. I don't believe in oaths. I know, I know. It's always there. It's so simple. What was the Ramana quote? I'm going to butcher it, but it's all the creeds and different denominations and systems and paths, and all it is abiding in the pristine state. There's no instruction required. Just learn to shift your awareness, like in the din of a restaurant, where you can shift your awareness from one conversation to the next without even moving your body. You can shift your attention to focus on different conversations in the din. So learn how to shift that awareness onto the awareness. Just shift it away from thoughts and sensations. And that's the path. And when you find that awareness and the ability to shift it to the space between the thoughts, then it's always there. Like I said in that first book, Conversations with Myself, that I mentioned, a million steps out, well, one step out, one step back, a million steps out, one step back. You'll never be lost when you know the one step path. Yeah. Well, Ramana's my mind. So I'm trying to represent the teaching that Ramana engaged in because it is the most effective. Go back the way you came. Exactly. And that's one step. No matter how far you think you are and how long it's going to take, that's all bullshit. It's all just, it's like you're listening for something, but it's just listening. You're listening to the silence. I want to be an artesian well of Satchitananda. How's that for an analogy? I should get back in my zazen. Do the cosmic egg, and then it's got to be like this, and then you got to be at a 45, and then you can't move for hours, and that's the way. I jest. I don't know how to stop smirking. It's like the proverbial walking around with a grin on his face, like he knows something no one else does. Hmm. Maybe there's something to that. Not in a clever way, though. Guess I should use a Kleenex instead of my hand, eh? All right, I'm out of here. If it's smoky like this tomorrow, I'm going to do this again. So maybe we'll see you then, or maybe we'll see you next week, or maybe I'll just do it at random sometime. Keep you on your toes. Thanks for being a community, guys. It's good to see you, Karen. Bye bye.